Europe is a regulatory giant and a budgetary dwarf. Again, Europe is a regulatory giant and a budgetary dwarf. This hits very different. And this was said by Philippe Aghion, who is a Nobel Laureate in economics. And it was a response he gave to the question, why does Europe seem to be stagnant in recent times compared to the technological innovations being churned out by America and China, and Europe just seems to be doing nothing at this time. And so Professor Philippe Aghion, I keep calling him Professor Aghion. I'm not sure if he's a professor. He's a Nobel laureate, so I just assumed he's going to be a professor, but that's not the point for today. He responded by saying that Europe is a regulatory giant and a budgetary dwarf, which means that there's so many regulations put in place by the European Union to guide conduct and to guide trade and everything. But then when it comes to money, they're kind of dwarfish. They somehow lack the power or the strength to fund a lot of things. And that got me thinking about the case of Africa. Now, Aghion's point is not to say that Europe has failed. I mean, Europe has achieved a lot of things many regions are still dreaming of. Free trade, free movement of people, a single market, shared regulatory standards, political cooperation across borders. Despite this integration, Europe still seems to be struggling and is often described as slow, cautious, and less innovative compared to China and US. This tells us something. Unity alone is not enough. Now let's think about it. Africa Agenda 2063 seeks to achieve pretty much the same thing Europe has achieved. Free trade, free movement of people across borders, borderless Africa, which means that we can move between regions, economic integrations, political cooperation and coalition and all that. But Africa is still fragmented into different political, economic, geographical silos. Here is the uncomfortable question. If Europe, already integrated, still struggles with innovations and developments, and we call them slow, then what happens to Africa if we remain divided as we are? Africa's greatest political weakness today is not poverty. No, it's fragmentation. We have different currencies, different visa regimes, different borders, different territories, different political standards and structures. And this almost makes it impossible to build and scale. Scale for innovation, scale for technology, and scale for political stability and structures. The uncomfortable truth is that no serious global power operates as a collection of isolated markets. Africa does not need unity for slogans, it needs unity to function. The lesson from Europe is clear. Overregulation without bold investment leads to stagnation, and Africa must learn from this and avoid this. First, Africa must pursue selective political integration, not everything at once, but the most impactful ones first. Second, Africa must invest aggressively in shared continental priorities like education reform, research and innovations, digital infrastructure, energy and transportation. Third, Africa must build institutions that reward experimentation and not punish failure. And finally, Africa must redefine leadership, choosing leaders based on competence, collaborations, long-term thinking, and not sentiment or identity. Europe teaches us that unity without ambition leads to caution and being overly cautious. But I think Africa's challenge is more urgent than that. Africa must recognize that division without unity leads to irrelevance. Africa cannot afford to be both fragmented and underinvested. The continent must integrate quickly and innovate boldly. Africa's future will not be secured by copying Europe, China, or America. It will only be secured by learning from their successes and their limitations. Political unity must be intentional, economic strategy must be bold, and innovation must be protected, because guess what? The world is not going to wait for Africa to get it right. Now, Africa has to get it right, and we will get it right. Thank you.